The next set of scans is Countertrends with VPA flags. So what have I done here? What I have set up some warehouse scans, and these are what I call counter trends. Let me bring up a chart here, and you can see that this was a counter trend until today on this because the 3 was down below the 6, but you can see that this stock actually crossed over today. I'm doing this intraday. It was red down here on the histogram, but it's going back up. So that is a counter trend that was negated. Let's go to the intraday version of this and see what's going on. What I'm looking for are counter trends that are giving VPA, bullish VPA flags in this instance, and you can see this is a really good example here. It's I'm not familiar with this stock. It is AALLK, but here's your counter trend. It began here, and you can see it in the histogram, and it has not yet turned positive today, but it's getting there. But here are the VPA flags. So my thinking is we have a stock. It's in a counter trend, or short term it's going down. You can see that the fan is still positive. Here's the 200, the 100, here's the 50, and here's the 18. If it doesn't go up pretty soon, it would not be a counter trend because a flag is, a fan going up is part of the scan. So all of these stocks, which are green today, and by the way, the market's pretty strong today on hopes of a reconciliation of some sort with China. But anyway, let's take a look at Charter Communications. You can see that it was just a one-day counter trend here. It's even hard to see the red, but it just barely went down through, and now it's turning up again. Here is the VPA signal right here, and that signal, or flag I should say, is no supply, a sign of strength. So it was just a one-day counter trend. Let's take a look at ResMed. That's a familiar name. Here's a counter trend, which looks like it started here and then it popped back up for one day, and then the real counter trend began here as the green went down through the red, or the 3 went down through the 6, but the fan is still up. You can see that. So with the fan still up, this is a short-term counter trend, and then I'm looking for these VPA flags for demand, showing demand. What the scan does is essentially look for strong stocks that are pulling back and are potentially going up again. So the buy point would be when the green passes up through the red again, and you can find some of these intraday. Let's go back to that first one. It's not quite there yet, but you can get in early if you want to. Here's one, a counter trend, a sharp counter trend, and the green went up through the red. You can see it down here also. So this would be comparable to Gil Morales's undercut and rally, because we're looking at strong stocks that are pulling back, and then we're looking for a re-entry point. But we're also bringing volume price analysis into the equation. Now here's the same thing with fan up. Let's compare the number here, 54 to 266, but there's a difference here. These require a bullish VPA flag today or yesterday. This scan does not. What I'm looking for here is the fan up counter trend. The 3 is below the 6. If I go to the intraday version, here's Ultra Clean Holdings. You can see that the counter trend is here. It's a very short-term counter trend, and I did not require a positive VPA signal or flag. In fact, there was a negative one yesterday, but it's up today. Let's take a look at World Fuel Services. Once again, counter trend. It's not a very steep counter trend or strong counter trend, but there's no VPA required, nor is there one here. It's a counter trend. You can see it's a counter trend, but no VPA required. So I kind of prefer these because there is a VPA flag required that day. And then this one here is a fan up counter trend, 3 below the 6, moving up intraday. So what I'm looking for is you're going to see a lot of the same stocks here, but the requirement is that these stocks are in counter trends, or they were as of yesterday, and they're all moving up today. There's no VPA requirement on this one either. I'm using my effort versus result. There's Ultra Clean Holdings again. Let's look at number 2 here. I believe I looked at that already. Here's another one. We've looked at that too. Here's Summit Materials. You can see it's in a counter trend, but it's up today. This is a loose chart. Let's go clear down to the bottom here. Consolidated Edison. Well, it was up, but let me check this filter out. Actually, rather than requiring that it be up today, I am using the percent change, the last versus the open. So the reason I did that, and I kind of forgot about that until just now, is I'm looking for stocks that may have been down early, that have been down early, but are coming back because the intraday, the last price is greater than the opening price. So let's just look at Consolidated Edison. You can see that it's still in a counter trend, but the last price is greater than the opening price because this is a white candle. Let's try, here's a familiar name, Duke Energy. You can see the white candle. So you have various scans here that you can use, and this is a pretty powerful intraday. Now let's look at counter trend bearish. I just use a VPA flag today, fan down counter trend. This is as of last night. Let's look at the intraday, and all of those that were weak yesterday, it looks like they're bouncing today because the market is showing a lot of strength. This is the beauty of not being tied just to end of day data because you can see what's happening. So let's just bring up, or let me bring up one of these. I'll bring up the top one. You can see there was a negative flag yesterday. This is a counter trend because the fan is down on this stock, and it's a counter trend because it was moving against the fan, but it's still trying to hold up. Well, no, it's actually down. I'm sorry. Let's take a look at this one. Counter trend again because the fan is down. It's almost ready for the 18 to go up through the 50, but it's down. You can see it much clearer here. So this is a counter trend because it's going counter to the fan. This is on the short side. So there is a lot to work with here. If you're looking for the undercut and rally type stocks, this is the place to look. And you can use the scans with a bullish VPA flag today if you prefer, or if you want a wider list, you can look at this one, and you can see that a lot of these are moving up today. Tri-Point Homes, here's your counter trend. Here's your flag, it was going counter. Here's your fan, it was going counter to the fan, and now it's moving up. Okay, that's it for this warehouse grouping of scans.